Quasar's layout system is genius. Building layouts is usually pretty frustrating, especially getting everything to stick where it's supposed to. But as you'll see, Quasar makes this a breeze. So check this out. And by the way, when I say layout, I'm talking about, for example, the header and the drawer, basically all the stuff around the outside of your app, or the skeleton of your app, you might want to call it. So let's head over to quasar.dev, and we're going to use their layout tool. Tools, Layout Builder, and let's have a play. I'll quickly cover the parts. At the top here, that's the header of our layout. At the bottom, we have the footer. This is called the left drawer, and this is called the right drawer. We can enable and disable all of these features. So for example, let's get rid of those navigation tabs. And how about we also get rid of the right drawer? Okay, now we can click on Continue. And first I want to talk about the plus section. In other words, these settings and these settings. So anything inside of this plus section, which is designed to do one thing, and that's decide whether it should stick when the user scrolls or whether it shouldn't stick. I'll give you an example. Currently it's set to a capital letter, which means stick. And if it were a lowercase letter, it would mean don't stick. Now, since it's set to stick, we can scroll down the page and that toolbar still remains in view. It's almost like it's a sticker that is sticking to the user's monitor. That's how I think of it. Now let's set this to a lowercase. And now when we scroll down the page, it disappears. Simple as that. So that's the plus section. Should it stick or should it not stick? I'll give you another example quickly. So the left section here is set to a lowercase l, which means do not stick. So if we scroll down the page, it scrolls with it. And now let's say stick, and that means it doesn't scroll with the page, and we have to manually scroll it. Okay, so that's good to know. Let's bring the header back to sticking and move our attention to the cross section. So these settings here. In other words, the corners. And this is just asking the question of what should take up this space. So for example, this space here, should it be the drawer or should it be the header? So currently the header is taking up that space, H for header. But if we change that to L for left drawer, now the left drawer takes up that space. That's all it means. What takes up this corner space? The left drawer or the header? And you can see that the color here, the difference between the orange and blue, helps us to visualize that. Now, maybe, for example, you want the drawer to be a bit more dominant. You want it to take up all of that space. We could say lowercase l here for left drawer, L there for left drawer where the footer is, and now we've got a much more dominant left drawer. However, I prefer it like this, so that's how I'm going to do it inside this video. There's also a few other settings down here that you can play around with if you like. We won't cover it in this video, but it just gives you a bit more control over the layout. And I think this all looks pretty good. So let's go to the next section, play with the layout. You can mess around with this if you like. Just allows you to kind of hide and show things. And then we can say export layout and copy that code. Okay, moving back to the editor. I'm going to jump into source, layouts, main layout. As I said before, the main layout is all of this around the outside. So that's what this component is here. Let's just go ahead and Control A, Control V to replace that with the one that we just created. Now I'm going to do a few tweaks here. Let's come up and remove the avatar inside of the toolbar title. And this is within the header section. So I'm going to get rid of that and also the title text and change that to Quasar Playground. And how about we come into the footer and just put a button in the middle of the footer, just so you can get a feel for how you might play around with that. Coming down here, we've got our footer section. Jump into that toolbar, and then we can say Q-button. I might make it flat and give it an icon equal to account. All right, there's no account icon. How about person? There we go. And then I'll come up to this toolbar and I'm just going to add a class equal to flex center to center all of that. Maybe we'll make it extra large as well, or just large. Yeah, so that gives you an idea of how you can add a button to your footer. You often see this with mobile apps where you can easily click on something in this footer section here to go to a new page, especially popular pages. Or if you were building a blog site, then this might be a section which links to other parts of your site. And lastly, we're going to convert this to script setup. But before I do it, I want you to notice how cool script setup is and how much of a difference this makes. So this is what it currently looks like using the composition API without script setup. If we add setup here, then we can basically just take that variable out, left draw. It doesn't need to be returned anymore because script setup automatically makes our variables available. And we're going to take this function and add the word function at the start there. Now I can get rid of all of that code and save it. So how much simpler is that? I think Composition API with script setup reads really nicely. And of course, everything still works. And there you have it. How cool is that? Quasar gives us all the tools we need to make a custom layout in minutes. See you in the next video.